minus the total deductions, right? Or just copy it from the payroll register, because you've already calculated it, right? On his row, on Edward's row, the last number on Edward's row, right, is 1186. Okay. No, that's okay. It's a lot of numbers up there. Yeah. Year-to-date net pay? So net pay is total earnings minus deductions, right? So here's total earnings. Year-to-date total earnings, right here. Here is year-to-date deductions, right here. So if I subtract this number and this number, I get that number. Okay? That's one way. You can also take this net pay plus this net pay to get that number. Just adding the net pays. Okay? All right, and then we just got to write the check. All right, so we're on July 15th. This check looks a little bit more normal. We're writing it to Edward Johnson for his total net pay. Right, right here. It'll be 1,086. And 91. And then sign it. Yeah, if he's recorded in our employee records is that way, then yes, we would put it just as it is. Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's why I write in pencil. 1,186. And 91. Nope. Not for the working together. Okay? So you've got all the notes you need here, right? What? Right. So on the next page we've got Janice. Okay? It would be the same thing. But you've got your notes. Yes? Any questions on the notes? Okay, so in 12.3, we went through the payroll register and the earnings record for, well, the payroll register is for all of our employees for a single pay period, right? So we've got a whole list, a list of 2 employees right here that we're paying, okay? And then we had the earnings records for each individual one, all right? So we've done all the calculations, we've got these documents ready to go, but we haven't actually paid our employees yet. And so that's what we're doing in 12.4. Is we're paying the employees. We're writing the checks to do that, okay? Now, for security purposes and tracking purposes, we don't write these checks out of our general account. We actually do a transfer from our general account to a payroll account, okay? And then from that payroll account, we pay each employee. Okay, and so the reason for that has to do with a lot with the cash controls. Just making sure that we know where all the cash is going. If you have printed paychecks, those are big checks usually, right? Bigger than checks that we write to the grocery store, to the school, or whatever. So those are the checks that people like to forge the most, are payroll checks, right? So we have this protection where once that account hits zero, right, then all the checks should have been cashed and we shouldn't have any more coming through. Okay? It also can tell us if somebody's not cashing their checks and investigate that as well. Okay? I'd love to be in a position that I would forget to cash my paycheck, but that ain't gonna ever happen. Okay. So you'll need these numbers, so keep that handy. And then we've got this check in 12-4, which is us writing the check from our general account to our payroll account. Okay? And so we have a separate payroll account to protect and control. Yep. So if we needed to transfer money from one account to the other to cover the payroll for July 15th, how much do I need to move over? Looking at this. Net pay, the total net pay. Okay? So right here, this number. Total net pay. Okay? Because this is the amount that they get here. So we've got to move that amount over so we can write the individual checks to them. Okay? I will say, I noticed last period that there were several students that didn't have this total row. Do you have a total row right there? Okay, if you don't, you need to make sure you get that done. Okay? Because you need these numbers, you need that number. All right, so now we're going to write a check for $1933.32. This is for the July 15th payroll. Okay, this is happening on July 15th. This is a little weird. It's not, I mean, we are writing a check, but we're doing more of a transfer. So we're actually paying the First Community Bank, but to our payroll account. Okay, so we'll note that down here. So I don't love the way that they lay this out, but we're just going to go with it. Okay, so there's kind of our general information. Then we've got to write the check. So we've got the date for July 15th. We have the dollar amount of $1933.32. Then we've got to write the dollar amount in words. So 1,933 and 32 100. I still remember the very first big check I ever wrote was my tuition check, my first semester at A&M. Back before electronic banking. I remember the building. I remember walking in that building and having to write that check. I had never written a check that big before in my life. Okay. So pay to the order of, we're going to First Community Bank. and it's our payroll account. And the book's telling us this information, right? The First Community Bank, that kind of thing. And the book tells us what the account number is as well. So 148, 164, 118. Okay, and then you can just sign it. And again, this is going from the general account to the payroll account. Got all that? Okay, so now that we transferred from our general account to our payroll account, then we can write the individual checks to our employees. And so that's what the next piece is. Okay, and we'll still need our 12-3, so we want to keep that handy. All right, so what we have here is we have Edward P. Johnson's information. This bottom half is the check that we're about to write, okay? Notice that it has the earnings record kind of attached to it, or an earnings statement, I shouldn't say record, an earnings statement attached to it, right? This part up here is the top part of the check from the June 30th paycheck right there, okay? So this is the previous paycheck's information, and then we're going to do the new paycheck, all right? The reason we need that is because of the year to date, okay? On all of these records, we're keeping track of our year to date numbers. So if I go back and I show you some of the examples we talked about early on, right? So here is a earnings statement for an employee, YTD, 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 right? YTD. So in all of these, we have to keep that running total going for all of these numbers, all right? Let's see, does that one have it? Right here. So it's got this paycheck has a year-to-date column as well here. Okay, those are the only two checks I had. All right, so that is something that needs to be on those statements. So that's what we're figuring out here. Okay, we're just doing all the math. So we are doing this for Edward P. Johnson. And this is the July 15th paycheck. All right, the first thing they want us to do is figure out his regular pay and his overtime pay, okay? Do we need to do that math? Or do you already have that number? Okay, do we need to redo this math? You have the number, right? It's right here, yes? So there's our regular time, our regular pay, our overtime pay, and our total. So 1320. You can do the math if you want to, but it's right there, as long as you do it right the first time. 112.50 and 1432.50. Okay? And that all came from the payroll register. And if you forget that, you're going to be redoing the math. Okay? So same thing for the current deductions. Okay, I've got them all figured out right here. I don't have to go look them up. I don't have to do the 6.2%, the 1.45%. Again, it's already right here. So 61 for federal income tax, 88.82 for Social Security, 20.77 for Medicare, 60 for health insurance, and 15 for retirement. Okay, I also already have the total for that. 245.59. Okay, so basically all of the current information, the current numbers come from the payroll register. Okay, then we have to go through and we do have to calculate the year to date. So now we're going to look at the previous year to date numbers here and here. And we're going to add the new current numbers here and here to get the new year to date numbers. Okay? So for total earnings, year to date, what would I add? Say it again.
The current total earnings from this year and last year.
Okay, so this number, yes, and
1,300.
okay, so this is the one we actually need to add. Okay, because this was that paycheck only. This one is January through the end of June. Right? So it's year to date. So this is the number we're looking at right here, 17,218. All right, so 17,218 plus the total earnings is going to equal the new year-to-date total earnings. So that is 17,218 plus 143,250. So 18650.50. All right. Do you see that number here somewhere? Remember this column? There it is again, right? 18,650. The accumulated earnings from January all the way through that pay period. Okay, so 18,650. 18,650. Okay, there's that one. The other ones I don't think we can check. We don't do that on the registers. So everything else is calculated right here. So now we've got the year to date for federal income tax plus the new income tax equals the year to date for the new pay period. Okay, so 522 plus 61 is 583. Okay, so if you want to know how you got that, 522 plus 61. All right, and then we'll just keep adding 106,752 plus 8882. Add that whole list. $249.66, and we've got this check. Okay, this first check is us paying, actually just transferring money from one account to another. Okay, we have a payroll account, so we have a separate payroll account that we pay the employees out of. And this is basically just a control measure. You remember we did that whole chapter on cash controls and just protecting the cash flow a little bit? So this is to protect and control your cash. Okay, it's a separate payroll account to protect and control. So we're going to transfer money from our big account over to this payroll account, and then we're going to write checks to our employees out of that account. Okay? If you're actually using checks, sometimes that's the one check that people want to try to forge, right? Because those are usually bigger checks, right, than little checks that we write to the grocery store, to the school, or things like that, right? Payroll checks are a bigger check that happens quite often. So it's one that's kind of more of a target for fraud. And so it protects this account. So once this account hits zero, then everybody's cashed their check, right, for that pay period. And you can see if somebody hasn't been cashing their check as well.
You have to cash it, or is that like a bad time?
You have to cash it?
Yeah, like is that like a bad time?
It can expire. You'll have to look. Sometimes it'll say on the check, good for 90 days or something like that. 90 days is kind of a standard. But if the check does get too old, like here at school, we can't accept checks, even if it doesn't say anything on it. We can't accept checks from if it's, 90 days old. So there's just some policies in place. And then sometimes, because the bank won't accept it if it's too old, right? All right. Okay, so what we're doing here is just writing the check from our general account into our payroll account. Okay? So to know how much, you've got your payroll register. How much do we need to transfer from one account to the other? What's going to cover our paychecks? I don't want to tell you everything. I want you to figure it out. What are we paying Edward? What is Edward getting? What is Edward taking home, I should say? Net pay, right? $11.86. What is Janice taking home? $7.46. So what do I have to pay both of them? What do I need to pay both of them? Right, $19.33.32. So you're just taking the total from the net pay column on your payroll register, and you're writing a check for that. So $19.33.32. Okay, and this is for the July 15th payroll. Okay, and this is kind of just our check stub. We're also paying this on July 15th. And the book will tell us that we are paying it to the order of First Community Bank with our account. Okay, I don't really like the way that this one sets up, because it looks like you're paying the bank, but you're really not. You're paying the account at that bank. But we'll go with it.
Wait,
So down here, when we do the pay, and they've got this whole check kind of wonky too, right? They've got the payee below the line with the dollars. I don't know why they want to throw you guys off. So in this payee, we're going to put First Community Bank, but we're going to put our payroll account number, and it'll go into that account.
is we're just transferring to the payroll account?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so on 115. Oh, yeah. 715 for 1933.32. And we gotta write that in words. 32,100. I remember the first big check I wrote was my tuition check. Texas A&M University. I don't remember, but it was the biggest check I've ever written after that point. I don't think I've ever handwritten a check bigger than that first time, before electronic payments. I just remember writing that check, going in that building and writing that check. Okay, pay to the order of. This is where we're going to put that First Community Bank again. And our book will give us the account number. So it'll be payroll account number 148 164 118. And then you just sign it. Okay, so this was a check from the general account to the payroll account. Okay, and this number came from payroll register. Net pay total. You can read all that. It says number came from payroll register, net paid total. This way?
Yeah.
All right, so now that we've transferred the money from one account to the other, it's sitting in the payroll account. Now we can also issue the checks to the individuals. Are we ready for that? Right here? What are they, or what is it for? Like, do you want me to read the numbers, or what is it? Yeah, 148. Where does this come from? The textbook. Yeah, it's just big. It tells us in the textbook that we're using that. Okay, so then the next page is to complete the checks to the employees. Okay, and if you remember on the paychecks I showed you at the very beginning, actually I may still have some of them right here. Well, this is an earnings statement, but it's similar to the same thing. We have these year-to-date, YTDs. deductions, year-to-date gross, year-to-date net pay, year-to-date for each of the individual deductions, okay? So on this paycheck, we're having to do the same thing as well, okay? We're having to transfer the information from our payroll register, but we've got to calculate the year-to-date. So what we have is the previous pay period's earnings statement so that we can calculate the new pay period's earnings statement, okay? So again, looking at 12.3, this is for Edward Johnson. Okay, so Edward P. Johnson. Okay, this is for the July 15th paycheck. His hours and rate are already in there. We just want to figure out what his gross pay is and his total earnings are. Do we already have those numbers? Do we need to do the math again? No. They're right here, right? There's his total. Oh, well. No, yeah. 1320. So 1320. And 112.50. Right? Everybody's seen where I get those? I mean, I could recalculate them, but they're right there. Okay? And then we also have the total. So, oh wait, no. Right there. 1432.50.
Wait. Is the one on the top from like a different period? Yeah. June 30th.
Yes. Okay, and then we also have all of the deductions already calculated, right? For the current, so 61 and 88, 82, I have glasses on, yes. 88, 82, and 20, 77, and 60, and 15. And we already got the total for 2 to 45.59. Say it again. 60 even. Okay, so the current numbers again came from the payroll register. Unless you just got a hankering to look it all up again. Okay, and then for the year to date, you've got to add numbers from previous pay. Okay, so how am I going to find the new year to date? Actually you could, because we already did it right here, right? So we added the 17,218 to the 1432. Okay? On this, where do we see those same numbers? right here. Right? So from the previous pay period, you've basically got the year-to-date earnings, because it's been calculating from January to February to March and so on. Okay? And then we're going to add this number to get the new year-to-date, which should match what's in the earnings record that we had already done, 18,650.50. Okay, so then we've got to do the same thing over here. So these we don't have in that quarterly record, but we do have this information. Okay, so if we need to take the year-to-date from the previous pay, add it to the current to get the new year-to-date. Okay, so 522 plus 61. We will have to do the math for that. So 583. Okay, and then 1067.52 plus 88.82, 1156.34, and then 249.66 plus 20.77, 270.43, and 720 plus 60, 780, and 180 plus 15, 195. Okay, so everybody know where I'm getting those numbers. I'm doing that math from. Okay? If this doesn't help you figure that out, then make yourself a note. What do you need to write down to make sure you're adding all of that? Okay, and just a note here, these numbers, again, from the payroll register. All right, then we'll have a total here. $2,984.77. And then if we take our year-to-date total earnings minus our year-to-date deductions, that should equal our year-to-date net pay. Okay, we can also, actually we'll go right here, we also have this number from our payroll register, which is 1186, or you could do the math again, 91. Okay, and we can take the year-to-date net pay plus the current net pay to figure out the new year-to-date. So there's two ways of adding that. You can double check them both ways. Okay, so we can do the total net pay, the year-to-date net pay plus the new net pay, right, to get that number. We can also take the total earnings year-to-date minus the year-to-date deductions and get that number.